Well, hello folks out there in YouTube land. Got a 4th of July show for you today. And I certainly hope y'all are all having a great time and a safe time out there enjoying the 4th of July. I wanted to bring my brothers in. A lot of y'all been requesting Junebug and Chillmont to join me. And so, as usual, you know, this show's a lot like Burger King.
Girls? Ooh, hold the pickle, hold the lettuce, special order, donuts, feathers. All we ask is that you let us serve it your way.
All right.
Yeah, the special orders don't upset us. So without further ado, Junebug and Chillmont. All right, folks, like I said, I wanted to bring on Junebug and Chillmont.
Hi, I'm Larry. This is my brother Daryl. That's my other brother Daryl.
For a special July 4th show, we're going to talk about things that are happening in college football right now. Call it round table talk. And let's start out with this college football. We'll talk recruiting, college football playoff, and several things involving college football in general. But let's start out with this college football playoff. Moving to 16 teams in 2026 is the plan. However, there's a big monkey wrench in there right now because Tony Petitti and Greg Sankey are not getting along. And it's over the fact the SEC refuses to move to 9-game schedule. Big Ten is already at a 9-game schedule. They want the SEC to do the same. However, the big problem, and let me show everybody this, I've got to show the strength of schedule. So as you can see, all the teams, this is after 12 games last year, which is when they determined the college football playoff. You can see all the teams 1 through 12, the first 12, there is one Big Ten team, which is Ohio State right here. Everything else is SEC, every single other team. So herein lies the problem, guys. If you do that, you're going to knock a bunch of SEC teams out of the playoff if you add that 9th tough SEC game. And we already have 11 of the 12 in the SEC as the toughest. So the Big Ten refuses to, I guess, really look at that and realize even though they're playing 9 games, they have easier schedules through the first 12 games. So we are at an impasse with Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti. A decision must be made by December 1st to move to 16. Will he stick his feet in the ground and say, absolutely, I'm not moving? Greg Sankey definitely will. What do you guys think about that? Let's start with Chillmont.
Well, first of all, I love the fact that they're expanding the playoff, but I think going to 9 SEC games is just stupid. We're just already the SEC basically eats itself every year because we're playing all the toughest games. I mean, does Ohio State have to play Georgia, Alabama, Florida, Ole Miss, and several other teams that are all top 15, top 20 teams every single year? And try, ask Ohio State if they want to go on the road and play Georgia or on the road and play Alabama during the regular season. There's, a lot of the mid-level teams in the SEC would be higher up teams in the ACC or the Big Ten. And the fact is you're guaranteeing another, 8 or 9 losses every year in the SEC. Now, as a viewer, it'd be nice because there'd be much more SEC games and they're great games to watch. But as for in terms of playoff, getting to the playoff and the most teams in the playoff, then yeah, I think you're really just shooting yourself in the foot.
Well, Chillmont, you picked the worst team you could pick for the Big Ten because they're already in the top 10 in the toughest schedules, and they're playing Texas this year right off the bat. But you're right about other teams there. But
I've got Texas and Oklahoma. Go on the road with them.
Yeah, so Ohio State's already doing that. But anyway, all the other clubs, you can kind of make that argument. But anyway, Junebug, go ahead with your follow-up.
Yeah, I agree with that. The SEC, if you look at all the teams in the SEC, we have a better league. You look at your South Carolinas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, those are decent teams that can beat you on a given day. Whereas the Big Ten, they don't have that. They've got some good teams at the top, Ohio State, Oregon, whatnot, but they don't have that full league where you've really got teams that can challenge you. And I agree. I don't think Sankey's going to go there. He knows that wins and losses have a lot better chance of getting you in the playoff than your strength of schedule. And they proved that last year. So yeah, if I'm the SEC, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stick at my 8 and go at it that way.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Now, here's the one issue. Tony Petitti has the same power as Greg Sankey. They're equals, 50-50. Now, the ACC and the Big 12, they have to listen to them, but they don't have any say when it's all said and done. The decision makers are the SEC and Big 10. So the question is, will Tony Petitti give in and stick with the 8 versus 9, whatever, that they currently have, and then move to the 16 because he wants that 4-4-2-2-1 automatic qualifier? Or will he just give in to all the other conferences that want a 5+11? Because SEC, Big 12, and ACC all want 5 conference champions guaranteed in, no bye, 11 at large. That's what all 3 of the conferences want. Big 10 does not. And they want, as part of moving to the 4-4-2-2-1, the SEC to play 9 games. So I think that Tony Petitti will give in and move to the 5+11 and leave the SEC alone about 9 games. But what do you think? Let's start back with Junebug again. Do you think Petitti will give in on that, or you think he'll stick his feet in the ground and say, okay, we'll just stick with the 12 and we're not budging?
If I was him, I wouldn't budge. I'd go ahead and throw my rook card out there and make the SEC stand up and play 9 games, which like I said, I think that's bad for the SEC, but like Chilmont says, I'd rather see a 9th SEC game. I like watching the better games. So I hope he stands up and makes the SEC play 9 games.
I figured you'd say that because I know you want the best possible games. You've always been that way. Wilmot, what do you think? Do you think Tony will give in, or do you think he'll stick to his guns?
He wants whatever is the biggest advantage to the Big 10. And last year, the way it was set up was a huge advantage to the Big 10, and they didn't want to give that up. And because they got the most teams in, even though I don't think they were the most deserving teams to get in. And then there were 2 teams, of course, that got the byes that shouldn't even been in the playoff, really, or it should have been in the bottom of the playoff. When you're talking, the other thing that we're not factoring in too is 9 more games 9 games means a lot more money. And it's all about money now.
Yeah, I figured you'd take the conspiracy role there, Chilmont. We don't call
they're always against us. I promise you, sports media and the NCAA. Who does the NCAA hate more than us? Tennessee. And we all know this, and they want to destroy us.
No,
again, I'm not paranoid. It's just they're all out to get us.
No, they love us because we give them stories, always scandal and stories and all kinds.
Oh, the sports guys do, but the NCAA and the SEC, the overseers of all this is NCAA hates us like no other.
We don't call you conspiracy brother for nothing, Chilmont. All right, now let's talk a little bit of recruiting. I'm going to pull up the recruiting rankings here. All right, folks, this is our recruiting rankings. As you can see, USC, Georgia, Notre Dame, Texas. I covered this a little bit yesterday. Tennessee is currently sitting at number 13 behind LSU. LSU jumped up. Look, they've got that huge average.
Yeah.
What do you boys think about the recruiting so far? What you see there?
What are we, 6 in the SEC?
Yeah, right in that neighborhood.
That's amazing. You can be 13th in the country and 6th in your own conference. It's just shows you how tough it is to recruit in the SEC because it's just so many good teams and so much money now to get these kids in. And that seems to be where we are every year the last 4 or 5 years. We're in that top 15 rank in recruiting. So that gives us a fighting chance. But, it's just tough when you play Ohio State or LSU that really they have more talented players than you do.
It kind of supports not going to 9 games because, as you can see, the SEC is getting most of the best talent with the exception of Ohio State and a couple others. We're getting the most talent. That's why we're the best from top to bottom. And again, that supports not going to 9 games so we don't get destroyed. We don't eat ourselves as the season goes along.
Well, we used to be from top to bottom. Now we're top to top even with Big 10. I think we are better at the bottom for sure. But again, those first 4 teams in the Big 10 can match up with any of our 4 right now. And it's their recruiting has improved dramatically since NIL showed up.
Ain't it peculiar how money seems to do that very thing?
Roadhouse.
Notre Dame used to be kind of a pretender because it was hard to get in that school. They struggled getting players in. Now with NIL, they can compete with anybody. That's why they played in the final game last year.
Yeah, and they've got a ton of money. They always have had a ton of money.
Tennessee has passed a law that allows them to pay players in excess of what the House settlement allows. They did that because there's a huge belief, especially by Danny White and Donde Plowman, that collective bargaining is the only way to get around antitrust law. Because if you don't collectively bargain, you're going to get sued up the yin-yang. And as soon as a player doesn't get their NIL money that they believe they're deserved, or the collective money that they've been offered, and Deloitte company comes in and says that's not allowed under the House settlement, and this is in excess, they're going to sue the university, they're going to sue the collective, they're going to sue the NCAA or this College Sports Commission. Tennessee has put that law in there to protect the universities in the state. What do you think will happen when this all starts blowing up this year over money?
Yeah, it's going to be the lawyers are licking their chops right now, going,
Give me the money. Give me the money.
Imagine, we go to NICO and say, okay, NICO, we'll pay you $2 million. And then Deloitte comes along and said, no, you can't do that. That deal is now void. What do you think is going to happen?
They just
NICO's going to sue them, and Tennessee's going to sue them.
Junebug?
Yeah, you're right. The lawsuits will just keep. I think you just got to follow the NFL model. Just
I agree.
Copy them. I mean, they make it work. Do the same thing. It's pro sports now, anyways.
So you think go along with what Danny White thinks?
Yes.
We got a camera on us. I don't really care at this point. Collective bargaining is the only issue. It's the only solution.
It's the only way we're going to get there.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes, yes.
I keep my tickets to all my games keep going up in price.
Yeah.
It's going to continue. He's about priced me out of the market. It's getting
He's pricing a lot of folks to the max right now.
Yeah, that's true. It's getting ridiculously expensive now.
Yeah. Well, they got to come up with the 20.5 for the revenue sharing, and then the collectives are going to pay additional money, NIL, and do all those types of things. And it's always you're in an arms race, and you got to try to keep up with the Texas and Ohio State and all those folks that are really spending the money. And what are they going to do? Are they going to stick? See, here's the big issue. This is where it's going to explode. They're all getting about double that amount of money this year because they've got it grandfathered in. They got all those payments before July 1st when the NIL and House settlement went into action where revenue sharing is allowed. Next year, with 20.5 as the cap, all those schools are going to be struggling to spend any more than that, and their kids are already making a lot of money. They'll take a 50% pay cut. Those kids are not going to do that. So that's when I think all heck's going to break loose. And Deloitte is probably either going to have to loosen up and allow the NIL and collective money, or they're going to get sued on an unbelievable scale.
Well, they can go back to the way they used to do it then. You just give money under the table.
I knew you were going there, Junebug.
Yeah.
I knew you'd go there.
Oh, we can get Chick-fil-A bags, no problem.
Oh, you Jeremy Pruitt-us. $65,000. Hey, look, he got in trouble for $65,000. That's a backup punter.
NIL, all that means it's legal.
There you go. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly right.
All right. Well,
all right, folks, just wanted to bring my brothers in, talk a little bit of football and what's been going on, a little round table talk. And I hope you're having a great 4th of July. I wish you the very best. And if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's continue to cover all these big college sports stories. If you've not subscribed, boom, boom, boom. 4th of July, boom. Help you get my videos, won't cost you a dime. And right over here is the most recent video, YouTube. Thanks, you'll enjoy. We'll see you next time on Sports Talk J.
Attention, puny earthlings. The one you know as Sports Talk J has asked us to wish you a 4th of July happy festivities. We will hold off one day before we take over your planet. See you tomorrow.